Okay, and we're back.
Hi, we're back with David, talking about the Oxygen Advantage, part two of our interesting discussion here. To follow up on the last conversation, I was wondering, like, if there's any sort of short, safe, like just a beginner-friendly breathing exercises that viewers could try, like right away
Mhm,
to
mhm.
see what it's like, or to maybe, just make them feel better, reduce anxiety for a few minutes. Is there anything like you could like show them?
Sure, sure, sure. I think that a couple things that we can work with is um, if I was to, let's say you were my client or somebody was my client, and I was not really sure of whether or not they were easily triggered towards anxiety and stress. And I would say, all right, the first thing I want you to do, as much as possible, let's just try for a little bit just to breathe through your nose. Okay. Only. And I just want you to watch your breath and follow your breath. It's going to give you an idea of how quickly you're respirating per minute, right? And then you're also going to get an idea of if there's a struggle breathing through your sinuses. And then, if you are, then you have to be. So that's what I'm saying. If you have any issues there, that's when you stop. So breathing is a powerful tool, but you have to tailor it to the person. So my services are, I try to be one to one and say, okay, if you can't do that, a lot of people say, well, I can't breathe through my nose, so it's just not going to work for me.
Right.
So you do what you can do. So let's say you can't breathe all the way through your nose and you try the nose clearing and it doesn't work. There's also nasal dilators. There's the tape that you can put on your nose, which helps lift the nostrils a little bit. And a good way to know if you're a candidate for that is strictly reach up and then against your nose and then open a little bit. And do you notice that you're able to breathe any better at all through your nose? And it's down a little bit more into the soft area, right about there. Now open.
Yeah.
So the breathe right strips, which you can get over the counter,
Yeah.
might help you to be able just to normally through your day. It's a lovely thing to go out with in the city, by the way. But
Say fashionable.
and you see athletes do it a lot because they're wanting to get that little bit more.
That's why. Oh, so that's why. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So if you know somebody that is a long distance runner,
Mhm.
then you can recommend breathe right strips because the nasal dilators they go in your nostrils and sometimes that's as much of a freak out for people as it is. So you got to pick your target. It's a moving target. You got to make it work if you can. All right. Second thing for breathing is even without being able to breathe through your nose, you can gently cup your hands and then practice just breathing normal. So you're not putting your hands flush against your face. You're just cupping them. You're trying to capture the CO2 and rebreathe it back into your system. And then just do a gentle breathing. So I would not give you a breathing count. I would say that, let's say that the optimal for down regulation is longer exhales than inhales. Okay. So if it's in for two and then out for three, that's fine. If it's in for five and it's out for 11, then there's other things we got to deal with later. Like your total volume of your breath needs to not be so big, but we'll talk about that much later.
Okay.
So, and you'll find sometimes that as you start breathing and you relax and you're rebreathing the CO2 and you're getting the nitric acid pooled in there and your bronchioles open, that you actually relax. And when that happens, you can increase the depth a little bit of your exhalation. So you're wanting to slow it down. All right. Second thing is simply put your hands on your ribs, on your short ribs. So right about here, where the ribs come down into you. So everybody knows about abdominal breathing, yeah?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
you breathe with your belly. Well, that's one component. So if the diaphragm is shaped like an umbrella or a dome that goes underneath your rib cage, if you abdominal breathe, your belly button goes out when you breathe in, then you're pulling down on your diaphragm, and that's good. If you can activate the lateral expansion of your lower rib, then you get the opening and you get the drawing down. You get a more because the lungs are a dumb organ, right? It has to be the diaphragm expansion and contraction that allows you to breathe, to get the oxygen in and out of your lungs.
Okay.
Another thing to note on that is the vagus nerve runs all the way through your body, through your diaphragm.
Right.
Breathing with your diaphragm, you massage the vagus nerve. That vagal stimulation combined with the CO2, which is a vasodilator, so you're not so constricted, you'll be less stressed. The nitric oxide is a vagal tonic too. So
Okay.
you're tripling down on the things that will help you down regulate.
Nice. Yeah, and the one where you're cupping your hand, that's really
Yeah,
nice that you're not like completely covering your face because
correct, correct.
claustrophobic people can do that.
Well,
Um,
just think if you're having an anxiety attack, you're gonna get a brown paper McDonald's bag and breathe through it.
when it's
That's not gonna happen, right?
your face.
But gently, and then bring yourself back to normal. And then as you're out walking, and seated aspect of Oxygen Advantage is very important. Let's say because you have to do it with the person's health and their abilities. So let's say that you're not feeling well and you're trying to get the breathing stuff together, but you really maybe the weather's bad, you're not able to get out. So you can do seated breathing stuff. You can walk in your home, like
Yeah,
practice walking as much as you can. Breathe in and out through your nose. If you have trouble with that, gently cup your hand so you're at least capturing and catching as much of that CO2 and rebreathing it as you can. You want to have that CO2 curve higher, higher concentration so you can release the oxygen from those red blood cells into your tissues.
that's really helpful. I'm gonna try that because the 478, they also had you breathing in through your nose and out.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm definitely gonna like try that and see if that makes a difference because like I said, I never really saw any huge benefit from that, but just like not knowing really anything about breathing, just a gentle, slow breath in and out through my nose, I
Yeah.
way more difference than the 478 breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. And
Mhm.
it not only doesn't decrease my anxiety, it sometimes almost like
It'll
increase.
make it worse because if your bolt score is at that threshold, then your CO2 sensitivity is high. Remember, that's what's making you want to breathe is high CO2 sensitivity. So here's the deal though. The more you teaspoon feed dropper your exposure to the CO2, the more those chemoreceptors in your body will be acceptant of it. So your tolerance will be to where eventually you'll be able to do 478.
Yeah.
Um, Bolt scores go above 25 seconds, then you most likely do not have breathing dysregulation. For a good percentage of athletes, like 40%, do. And so it's harder for them to perform. Again, we talked about that. The more you're breathing, the more sensitive, the faster you ventilate. Then you wear out your diaphragm. Your diaphragm fatigues. And when that happens, it takes blood from your legs to your diaphragm and your intercostals. Then you can't run. Boxers can't stay in the ring, can't stay on their feet, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and I'm super excited. Like we've talked about, sharing this with a couple of my kids. I have a long
Yeah.
distance runner, very athletic, like bodybuilder. A couple kids who are definitely gonna benefit from this, just increase their stamina, if nothing else, and to make, their output of energy not as much. I think that would be really helpful for them. But
Well, then I know that both of your, all three of your family members, all four of your family members are in high stress because three of them are in high stress environments, military, fire. Okay.
right,
There's a whole component in the Oxygen Advantage dedicated to those individuals.
nice.
How to regulate pre, on the way to the call, on your way to the event, on your way to jump out of that plane.
Yeah.
Once you're in that event, how to breathe. The Patrick McEwen tells an awesome story is like when either I forget if he was listening or talking to a gentleman that was a brain surgeon and ask him what is the most important thing that you do, and he says I try not to hyperventilate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Everything depends on not losing control or get shaky hands or whatever brings with that. So being able to down regulate yourself, I think that is for myself the number one most important thing in life is to not be upregulated to where you can't see the forest from the trees as to what's really a stressor and what's your perceived stressor.
Right.
And I'm not saying that this is going to make it all go away, but I believe in my experience, it helps you at least be clear. And once you check the boxes and go, this is I feel like I'm relaxing now. I
Mm.
feel like I'm breathing now. I'm not over breathing. I'm breathing soft. Yeah. So the goal is no matter what event that you're going into, whatever, breathing soft and gentle is crucial. Later on, if you can do it, gentle breath holds. Plug in your nose, gentle breath holds. But if you can't breath hold, your bolt score is low. Don't even worry about that. You've got to enter into the stream where you're at. You want to be in the rapids, in the kayak, but you can't swim and you don't know how to get in and out. You can't. You have to go into the pool and you learn and you expose yourself and you get comfortable. Otherwise, the stress of that other event is way too much for you.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. And this is why everyone can use a certified instructor to help them through this, but at least get the hang of it. Because, um, so if you could just like tell us when someone is gonna, DM you on
Yeah.
Instagram, going to hire you as an instructor for Oxygen Advantage, like what services are you going to provide, coaching them? And I'm assuming you're going to make that for each individual because some people have chronic illness and some people have
Right.
chronic.
Right. Right. Yeah.
It's so important to have a coach to, because you think breathing isn't that important, but it's hugely important. It's key to everything. And having, a coach to walk you through the steps of this so that you don't make, you have the proper guidance and you don't make some of the common mistakes people make, like me with breathing and stuff. And actually, I'm trying to like, calm my anxiety, but I'm actually making it worse. So, what
Yeah.
are some services that you'll provide? What does that look like for individualized training and coaching? And about how long would they have to work with you to kind of, get up and running and benefit from the Oxygen Advantage?
Oh, you generally start with a questionnaire. And so you go through the questionnaire, you check off the big things. But a lot of times it's just talking like this. What are your goals? What do you want? Um, I know what the paper says, but what do you personally want to do? Where are you in your life? There's the real deal of there's a whole different way that women respond to breathing that men do. And so I'm trying to get my wife involved in it because not going through those changes in 40s and 50s around in there, menopause, perimenopause, all that affects breathing.
Yeah,
And so it's really a crucial thing. And I can study it and but I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel like that should be my niche because it's gender specific because she can answer things and have personal experience I have no clue about. However, that doesn't mean that we can't work on what we're just doing right now because with the menopausal, there's that anxiety component. Can we work on getting, your breathing? How is your biomechanics going? Are you breathing well? Are you breathing low, slow, and deep? Are you breathing through your nose? Can you breathe through your nose? Can you do gentle breath holds, pinching your nose and walking? Can you not do that? And so it's definitely I will always focus on what the person's capacity is, and generally it takes probably 4 sessions of maybe 2 hours.
4 sessions of 2 hours each or 2 hours total.
4 sessions of 2 hours each.
Okay. Okay.
And it depends on how far you go. Let's say you're an ultra marathoner and you're coming in and you're like, I really want to do this. Then we can work on the basics, work on nasal breathing, work on diaphragmatic breathing, work on gentle breath holds, working on what we called um, altitude training, to where you inhale, exhale, you hold your nose, and you're running or doing an activity, and it simulates being at high elevation. So you can train at sea level. And yeah, something like that for somebody that has chronic condition, POTS, blah, blah, that's just not appropriate,
Yeah.
right? Not going to happen. No need for it. Now, maybe down the road, things change and you can, fantastic. Then we can revisit that.
Right.
So yeah, we just kind of target it there. And it's not an indefinite thing, but for sure, at a certain point, I'm just like, yeah, you're not paying me anymore. We're just going to talk you through this. Because after that, it's like now it's a matter of let's just work on what you got. And then we're going to, after the initial, 4 sessions, then we hopefully we have a foundation. And if you want to go further, then that's where we go. That's where we go with it.
That's awesome. And I'm going to be learning this technique and practicing it with you. And we're going to do a follow-up interview
Please, yeah.
for a while to see how it works with someone in, with POTS and chronic illness.
Well,
And
here's another catch for you. Here's another catch for you. As an influencer, as somebody that talks a lot, one of the questions that you'll notice on that questionnaire is, are you working in a profession, either a teacher or a public speaker? And the reason why that's an issue is you are constantly getting rid of that CO2. So your biochemistry is fluctuating on the lower. So the first thing, just as a tidbit for anybody that does public speaking or is talking all the time, you need to carve away some time where you are sitting or walking and you're just mindful to your breathing, cupped hands, without talking. You got to allow your body to rechange it, recalibrate its chemistry a little bit in there.
yeah.
And knowing that it's part of what you do. The more you talk, the more CO2 you lose. And so it's going to play with you a little bit.
And that's why it's just going to be so helpful to have a coach to walk me and walk other people through it because it is, I mean, it's a little bit complicated when you actually study the science of it, but it's also like really simple once you get the hang of it. And
Super simple. Yeah, the science is as deep as you want to take it. And so we always throw factoids in there that people can, go and find, or at least I like factoids because it's cool. But just in doing it, then if you feel good, then that's all you need. You just want to
right.
make a change. You want to change your state from being stressed and anxious to being calm and relaxed, or be able to, once you feel it, control it and bring it back down.
And I
That's
love the fact that it can help so many people, from people who are sick to people who are athletes and marathon runners. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm just really excited. Thank you for being here today. I'm
oh, thank you.
excited for everyone to have learned everything they have from you today. And we will do a follow-up video after I experiment with it and see how it
we'll
goes.
give it about we'll give it about 6 to 8 weeks because that should be a good healthy time. But if something happens sooner, positively or other, and you're like, nah, it doesn't work, just let me know. Every breathing strategy is not for every person. You
Right.
have to find which one works for you. But do check out James Nestor's book, Breath. Also look at the free Oxygen Advantage app on Android and iPhone.
Okay. And then, I mean, it's really important to like point out too that, this is not a medical opinion. Talk to your doctor before you
Correct.
try
Correct.
anything. If you have, if you're pregnant or you have chronic illness, it's going to look different than if you don't. And so it's always
Right.
important to get medical advice and talk to your doctor before you.
Right. If you're pregnant, breathing strategies not a good idea. Just because it can be a stressor on you and the newborn. So if you are, just don't do long breath holds. You can do um working on is comfortable just breathing and relaxing. You're going to get your own breathing strategies through your Lamaze coach anyway.
Yeah, so as always, check with your doctor. This isn't medical advice, it's just our opinions and hopefully to be helpful for some people out there. And I'm excited to see what I'm going to do with it over the next 1 or 2 months. But you can get a hold of David. I'm going to put his Instagram account in the comments. So if you just direct message him, he will get back to you. He's very responsive and he's very like attentive to individualized attention, and he's just amazing as an instructor. So I hope that it benefits some of the people who are watching. And David, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll
Bye-bye.
talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.